Hello, my name is May, and I am the host of LostinTranslationmon. Now, I decided to have this podcast because I've always kind of wanted a Digimon podcast, but the fandom wasn't that big until the announcement of Digimon Adventure Try, and then three other podcasts already existed, so I was like, oh, damn. So then I decided, hey, what if we, compare the Japanese version and the English version, because that's always good for a bit of a giggle. And then I have a friend who has vaguely seen Digimon, isn't really a big fan, doesn't know much about it, kind of doesn't like it. And so I decided, hey, how about he's co-host?
So
And,
that's me.
Yep.
My name is Jay. I'm the co-host. So once upon a time, I watched Digimon, I think, and now I've got nothing. And you talk about it all the time, and I've still got nothing. So now I've seen I've seen, I guess, 1.5 episodes. One's a movie, kind of, it's 20 minutes.
Well, I think it was a theatrical release, maybe.
I wouldn't have gone to a movie to see that.
Listen to Bolero for 20 minutes.
No, much rather Fatboy Slim. Although we'll get there, I guess.
And the Digirap.
Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 167 of Lost in Translationmon. I'm May.
And I'm Jay.
And this time we will be talking about all of Digimon altogether as a whole. So going from Digimon Adventure all the way up to Atmon and Tri, so the more recent seasons, and we'll be talking about everything that we've covered on the podcast.
Well, thank God I have an encyclopedic memory of all of Digimon at all times.
Yeah, I was thinking about that now today. It's like you would probably be able to rattle off an embarrassing amount of knowledge about Digimon.
You know what the most embarrassing knowledge about Digimon I have is?
What?
That I've watched it. Hey!
That's not embarrassing. Like, a lot of people can say that they've watched Digimon.
I know what I said.
Yeah. And just a quick thing before we jump into that. I forgot to mention last time that there was actually something else I liked about Cross Wars, and it was because it was.
Is it the name? Because you shouldn't.
No, it was not the name.
Also, you don't like the name. That's good to know.
It's fine. It's fine. It's just a name. Anyway, so something I really liked was something that we've spoken about on the podcast before, watching Cross Wars, and Jay always liked this mechanic, but it was never actually utilized in Digimon, and that mechanic is a bad guy using a chosen child as a battery for evolution, like an evolution.
Oh, yeah.
And I just remembered that, I think it was the Friday after we recorded or something, or maybe even the Monday, and I was just driving to work and I was just thinking about it. I don't know why I was thinking about it, I just was. And I was just remembering, oh yeah, because I think I was thinking about the roleplay, and I was thinking about Bagman and how Gravimon used Bagman because he was a battery. And then I was thinking about, that was actually done in Digimon once. And I feel like we sort of didn't even mention that. I think we mentioned at the time and glossed over it slightly, but we didn't mention it in our Cross Wars summary episode. But that's actually, I would say, one of the better parts of the show is that it's actually using
it's pretty
data.
Subdued, though.
I like it, though.
It's not all that relevant.
It's still interesting that they actually use the idea, and it's something that it's a good idea. Throughout this episode, we'll be referring to our survey on best episodes as well as our survey on best characters. So the favorite Digimon character survey has 67 responses, and the what is the best episode of each season of Digimon survey, and this was open since I think we just finished Atmon at the time, and then I released this survey. It has 247 responses, so I'll be addressing both of the results on each. And in the first survey, there were some demographic questions, so we asked what language they primarily watch Digimon in, and 49.8% said they watched Japanese with subtitles, and I think I specified English subtitles, and 35.2% said English dub, and 5.7% say they watch another language dub. So that was something that we can sort of take into consideration, that all the people who answered about the favourite episodes, they're either watching Japanese with English subtitles or the English dub. And then we asked a demographic age question, which was 43.3%, which was the highest percentage, said that they're aged between 24 and 29 years old, so that's our age range, and 38.5% said that they're aged between 18 and 23. As for how people found the survey, like how they discovered it, there were 38.9% found on Reddit, 22.3% found through the podcast, and 14.6% found on Twitter.
Through the podcast app? Not through They didn't find our podcast through listening to our show.
No, this is the survey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then there was a gender question. So 63.2% said male, 28.7% said female, and 8.1% said other. And just shout out for the one person who said Agumon and the one person who said Digimon as their gender, by the way. Our first topic is crazy characters because I love alliteration for our summary episodes. So the first crazy character that we'll talk about is the Goggle Kid. So this necessarily doesn't mean that this character has goggles because Masaru doesn't, but the majority of the time they will have goggles. They won't even be brunettes most of the time because thanks Haru for having green hair apparently because you're a main character.
Ruining everything.
And yeah, so and I guess Daisuke is a redhead and Taguru has like a red tuft, whatever. So these are like the main, quote unquote main character, the leader of the group. So who do you think was the best? Who was the best for you?
So, I mean, it's about, actually, reading this back, most of my answers are in this way that, like, I'm not certain whether Atmon is a real answer or not.
I'm including Atmon. I'm including Atmon.
Yeah, I got that now, but when I wrote it, I didn't know that. So a lot of mine were like, well, here's the answer from Atmon, but then here's the real answer, you know? So in this case, I go, like, who really makes me happy when they're on screen? Well, the technical answer, and the obvious one, is Haru. But if he's not an option, it's like, you know, it's either Taichi, because he's, like, the most built-up character.
Yeah.
But maybe Masaru is, because, like, he's just joyous to see punch things.
My answer was also Haru, but I think it's also kind of tied with Takado. I can't really sort of choose between the two. I both like them.
I think what's amazing is that in hindsight, I remember nothing about Takado, like, as a person.
He
I remember
liked
Gilmon.
Digimon.
No, I get that, but I remember Gilmon a lot. But there's nothing about Takado. I go like, oh, that remember when he did that? I just go, oh, he was there.
No, you're right. Okay, yeah, you're right. Haru, then I guess also. Because you're right, Takado was like, he liked Digimon, he drew Digimon, but yeah.
You liked him because he was you.
Yeah, like, to be fair, like, yes.
But guess what? He's not me.
Yeah, good point. Well, I guess Masaru is the most you because he hates, doesn't
He
hate, but he
wants
wants
to
to
punch
punch
them.
them. Yeah.
That's about right.
What about the worst?
Oh, the worst is Davis, 100%. It couldn't be anything else.
Yes, it could. It could be Taguru, because I chose Taguru.
No, but Davis was the most consistently awful. The thing with Taguru is that because he's sharing the protagonist slot with Taiki from the last season, it's never overwhelming. He was never actually the leader of the group.
Yeah, no, you're right. Because, even, I guess in the last episode of Young Hunters, Taguru was like the main character in the last couple of episodes, but he was throughout the season not ever like, I don't know, I can't put the...
He was kind of a nobody the entire time.
He was kind of a nobody, like he just kind of was there, and then, as I said before, in the last couple of episodes, he was all of a sudden ascended to a main character. Yeah.
Even though the show would trick you into thinking that maybe that, like, he was the main character the whole time.
But that's my reason for saying Toguro is the worst, because he never felt like the main character. Daisuke, you just sort of said, okay, fine, he's the main character. And then especially in the second half where, you know, or I guess in the last chunk of 02, we have him be a better person because he's partnered with Ken.
But I didn't feel he improved that much, and like because he was actually the main character, that means that when I see it, I have to be like, oh god, it's that guy. Because he's the focus. With Taguru, you could actually like tune out if you wanted.
You're right. Well, he
really tried.
He wasn't that relevant considering he's the Goggle Kid of the season.
Yeah, which was good, I guess, for me.
Yeah, but yeah, at least Daisuke and Vmon had a consistent relationship. At least he was awful to Vmon, but like it was consistent.
Yeah, and it was awful.
All right, so now for the listener thoughts. So this was in the two surveys. This is the only of the character questions I asked in both the surveys because I asked who was your favorite leader in both. So in the first survey, which is the one with 287 respondents, we have the best being 38.1% Taichi, which is reasonable because we have more from Taichi, and as you said just before, he developed as a character. We saw him grow up, so we have more time with Taichi, and so that's fair. And then 19% say Takado, and I would say that's because Takado is the fandom, and I feel like he's the one that I would say a lot of people in the Digimon fandom would say resonates with the most because he is a Digimon fan. He's kind of a bit of a nerd. He's he's not like unpopular or anything. He's super cool. Everyone loves him. But like, yeah. As for worst, and this is not surprising at all, who do you think's who are the two most disliked Golden Kids?
I mean, Tagiru and Davis.
Yeah.
Seems obvious.
Who's more disliked, do you think?
Davis, I hope. It's probably Tagiru because they killed the show, but Davis is the correct answer, and anyone who didn't pick him was not only wrong, but is now exiled to Siberia.
So 30.8% said Tageru, and 27.9% said Daisuke. So that's fair. Then we have the second survey, and for best, it's quite similar to the first survey. So we have 35.8% say Taichi, 31.3% said Takado. Who do you think's in third place with 9%?
Masaru?
Yeah, Masaru.
Yeah.
As for
this
worst,
this was pretty easy.
this is, and it's the spoilers, it's the same. 40.3% say Tageru, 25.4% say Daisuke. So it's, yeah, not surprising. What about the lone wolf rival character? Usually blonde, usually paired with like some wolf.
I mean, does Eugen count? I don't know, because he's like two good friends.
I put Eugen in this category in the survey, and some people on Reddit were having none of it.
Because like he shouldn't be, but he kind of is, and then like in reality he definitely is more than all the other ones, because he's actually on a different side.
Yeah, I put him on in this category just because of the last bit. And I mentioned that, and people were like, oh, but that doesn't mean, because he's nice. I'm like, no, I'm still putting him in the category, in the same way that Ken was is in the category.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I would never have guessed. Okay, I didn't know that. Because I said that Toma's the best, and maybe Ken is? It's probably Ken. Toma was my alternative.
Ruki's my best.
She does not count. She's
does.
the token girl. She's in the next one.
No, Juri's the token girl in Tamers.
I honestly don't remember who that is.
The
girl with the dog arm!
Yeah.
I forgot she existed!
Yeah, everyone forgets she existed until they realise that she's, the main point of the plot in Tamers. Well, the last bit of the plot. But yeah, so
sort of.
I said Ruki because, like, the best. Like, she's just so good, and I feel like she grows. Like, some of these characters you can say, it doesn't really grow much. With Ruki, she matured so much, and she never really slipped back into old habits like Kiriha does constantly.
Yeah, all the time.
And I think even Toma, he kind of, like, slips and slides around a little bit, but Ruki was always, like, consistent in she did not like Takado. Digimon were just tools to her, and then, she realised, Digimon are great, Digimon are friends, these are my friends, I'm happy, I'm smiling, now my shirt has a formed heart, and it was great. So yeah, she's my favorite.
She's my best of token girls. That's what I picked.
Well, you can't, because she's a lone wolf, because
I did it.
She has a fox, and she spends like half the season wanting to fight the main character and also not be around them.
But I did it. Now what will I do?
You pick
I have
Mimi.
to pick a best. Oh, yeah, that's probably
Mimi or
very
Eri,
accurate.
and you just sit down.
Oh God, Eri! No, it's Eri 100%. I forgot Atmon counted. Remember?
Oh yeah, okay, that's fair. So yeah, my favorite was Ruki, and I think we would probably have the same least favorite lone wolf. So,
is it Matt?
No, I was gonna say Kiriha because he's the worst parts from Yamato and Toma without any of the good parts.
Wait. Oh God. Wait. Kiriha's the guy.
Cross Wars.
Oh God. What does he look like?
He's blonde.
Oh yeah. I remember him. Yeah.
He's
It's
awful.
already been too long.
We last saw him just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, and you know what? It's still too soon. The memories are too raw.
And that makes him the worst because, like, I don't know.
But no, because
terrible.
like I kind of got him. He was kind of like he made sense within his stuff.
But his character kept. I guess that's more of a fault.
You know
of the
what's
writers,
worse?
but, like,
Matt
what?
was convinced to fight people with a tree.
Yeah, and like Kiriha was convinced to fight people by paper, which comes from a tree.
Wait, what?
Remember when Gravimon was all like, "Hey Kiriha, you should like be evil," and Kiriha was like, "Lol, okay."
Vaguely.
But Kiriha, Yamato, and Toma were all convinced to fight the main character because some version of plant life told him to.
Okay, Gravimon is hardly plant life.
He's
And also,
paper.
he had been actively defeated and there was like a character reason. Matt's thing was just like, hey, do you want to I'd just appreciate it if you, yeah?
You want to go
Yeah.
kill all humans?
You want to kill all humans?
But yeah, well, I mean,
Hey, baby, you want to kill all humans?
for me, like, I mean, I used to like Yamato as a kid, but now when I'm thinking about it as an adult, he's actually awful and was convinced to kill his friends because a tree told him to.
It's legitimately the worst.
Because he was jealous, because his younger brother was, like, kind of growing up and he felt useless, which is, I get it, but, like, I don't know, Kiriha is just bad, but I can see why you would say Yamato was, but Ruki's also the best lone wolf, because of course she is. So for the listener opinions, as for the best, 34.3% say Ruki, 29.9% say Ken, and 19.4% say Yamato. I think that's, like, Ruki and Ken, I would say, that is correct, they are the best. Yamato just, like, I guess he's sort of not awful, but, like, then again, he's probably a little bit awful. I don't know. Anyway, so for the worst, we have 30.8% say Kiriha, 23.1% say Toma. Don't understand Toma being there. That's surprising. I thought he was, like, I don't like him because he did some dumb actions, but, like, he at least had a reason for it, I guess. I don't know, but it's fair enough.
I complained until I remembered his reason. I was like, oh yeah, that just makes so much sense.
Yeah, his sister had a bomb around her neck.
Yeah, that thing that happens to most people all the time.
Yeah, see, meanwhile, Kiriha and Yamato had no reason to be awful, but, like, whatever. But I guess blondes will be blondes and attacking goal kids, apparently. So next we have best worst token girl. Who's your best?
Well, I thought it was Ruki, okay? But it's Mimi. It's actually Mimi.
Well, I have Eri and Mimi because I can't choose. Because
yeah, life is hard.
Eri is so good, and we have such good story from her, and we have like her whole arc is becoming like an idol, and she just wants to make people happy, and she wants to make her mum happy, and her mum's watching it. I'm getting really emotional now. And then we have Mimi, who has grown from this girl who didn't want to go outside basically because she didn't want to get muddy, and complained about like walking around a lot, and she didn't want her legs to get big, and then she became this girl who's just like, I'm going to fight, and it's great. And Mimi's growth was amazing, but to be fair, we've had more time with Mimi. We've had her since she was 10, and now we have, the upcoming Tri-series where she's dressing exactly how I did in 2012 or 2010 or whenever it's set, and she's in her 20s, and that's cool. We have such growth from her, but I still can't choose between Eri and Mimi because I just love them both.
Yeah, but Eri's better.
But you said Mimi.
Yeah, but I didn't know Eri was a choice.
Okay. What about the worst? Because this is easy for me.
The worst one was Zoe because I forgot she existed.
Yeah, definitely Izumi/Zoe because she lost in her evolution episode, and then she spent the rest of the show losing her spirit and then sitting on a bench and being the prize for the main characters to kiss if they win the final battle. That was it. That was her character. Why?
What you want.
That's just, So the listeners said that 44.8% said Mimi, 17.9% said Eri, which is pretty impressive because it's a new series, and I believe I asked what was your favourite episode in Atmon to the listeners, and like 50% said they haven't watched it or something along those lines. So 17.9%, that's good numbers. And then 17.9% said
Them's
Yoshino.
good numbers.
So Yoshino being there is surprising considering when we look at the worst, 30.3% said Izumi and 24.2% say Yoshino.
I can totally see that one though, because she has so much promise, and you can see people going like, "Yeah, I like that," and then she didn't do anything. You're like, "Oh, I don't like that."
She definitely does more than Izumi, and she's definitely more of a character than Izumi. But like, yeah, it's interesting because she's in the best as well as the worst category at a similar sort of 20%. And then in third most hated we have Nene at 21.2%, which I like Nene.
You like that she dresses up and stuff.
Yeah, I liked her in season 2, but Young Hunters, what did you do to her? Why? I'm so upset.
She's an idol now. That was her destiny.
I know, I hate it. What about the best and the worst Smarty Pants? So this is like the smart kid character, which I also caused controversy with some people on Reddit because I had the gall to say that Zenjiro, the 10-year-old who can fix robots and knows mechanics and engineering at the age of 10, was classed as a smart kid, and people said I wouldn't say he's smart. I'm like, well, I would actually.
Just like, trying to figure out if he counts.
He definitely
Because, like...
no one else does in that season. He works on robots. Like, he's 10. Like, that's like he's very smart for a 10-year-old being able to work on robots and know
Yeah, I
mechanics.
guess. I just felt like it wasn't like a part of his character, right? It was like a thing that he
was.
would do because no one else would do it. Like, was there a past reason he could do it? I don't remember.
Well, I know the dub gave him some reason, like he does it in video games all the time.
Right, it was really dumb.
But I'm pretty sure in the original just said it was his hobby. Like, he just likes tinkering and fixing mechanics. And that's just like, guess what? Anyway, so that's my point. I include Zenjiro in this category. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. But I feel like, nope. Like, there's no one else who's smart in the season except for maybe Nene. So who is your best? Who's your favourite smart kid?
I mean, like Joe, I guess. Does he count?
I put him as the mature or the caretaker sort of character.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's Izzy because, I know him the most.
Yeah.
The worst one was the guy from Tamers who had the Ocean Angemon or whatever it's called.
Oh, I didn't even consider that he was a character. I forgot about
I know,
Kenta.
right? Yeah, Kenta. Like, that's the reason he sucks the most, because I'm like, oh, who's this guy?
Yeah, well, my favourite is Miyako because the writers were brave enough to actually include a girl who was smart, and she had knowledge of music editing software as well, and then she was able to defeat Arukenimon in that episode with the giant computer. That was cool. The worst, even though I just said that Zenjiro was super impressive being 11-year-old who can fix robots, but, I still think he's the worst just because, the writers could have done him so much better and actually included him in the plot more and made him more than just, the guy who's just kind of there. But yeah, so he's my worst.
I get that.
As for the listeners, for their favourite, 71.2% said Koshiro, 16.7% said Ray. That's fair, Ray's great. And for worst, and I'm agreeing with the first part, not agreeing with the second part, 46.9% say Zenjiro. That's reasonable. 29.7% say Miyako. Why?
Don't know.
I love better. Yeah, I would say if Miyako, if I took Miyako out of the equation, which I'm not because she counts, then Koshiro would be my favourite, or Ray, I guess. But yeah, Miyako's my favourite because it's nice to actually have a girl who doesn't fit in with the token girl role. That was definitely in 02. That was where Hikari sort of goes. She's kind of just like she's more than just the girl character, but she's the token girl, and then Miyako's off being amazing and great and knowing computers, and Hikari's great in her own way. What about the older caretaker? Well, not necessarily older, but more mature, that sort of character.
I was like, does Ruki count for this one? Is she older?
No,
I don't remember.
She's the same age. She just goes to a different school.
Okay.
The answer's Joe, by the way.
Yeah, so Joe was the answer. But, because you gave the example, I usually try to keep away from those if possible.
Yeah, I mean, I like Akari, but, again, she could be done better, but she's definitely... People also didn't like the fact that I said Akari was the caretaker. She picked up an entire giant wolf, threw it at the main character, so the main character didn't fall on the concrete. That's a caretaker.
It's more than fair.
Yeah, I feel like that's reason enough. Yeah, so Joe is the best. Worst is Junpei because he's gross. He's just weird towards Izumi the whole time. It's just eh. Who do you think's the worst?
The worst, so the one from Savers, whose name I've forgotten already.
Yoshino?
Yoshino.
Yeah, I had her down as a token girl, but she's also the older caretaker because she's 4 years older than Toma and Masaru. But yeah, I don't know. Junpei is just not good. And for the listeners, for the best caretakers, we have 38.8% say Henry from Tamers, and 23.9% say Sora, 20.9% say Joe. And then for the worst, we have 46.3% say Junpei, 25.4% say Akari. That's fair. I mean, I like Akari, but that's also fair. That's a fair rating. What about the kid character? Because I know, I think the character type that we've complained about the most has been the kid character, because they cry. I'm pretty sure that's our reason for complaining about it. But then they end up growing on you because that's what children do apparently. They're like little growths. Who is your favourite?
Hikari, probably. She has the most going on.
Yeah. I mean, in the same way, I've said Takeru because we get to see him grow up. He is just a crybaby attached to Matt in the first season, and then...
But I hate him, and then he's not a kid anymore.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, Hikari is just, very, very mature for an 8-year-old. She kind of is more mature than Taichi, and it's just sort of... It's fine, but, I feel like seeing that growth from Takeru being, this tiny child, and then at the end of the season, despite still being 8, is more mature, and then we get to see him kind of grow up, and that's kind of nice. But Hikari's a fine choice too. I like how in Try, where homeostasis takes over again, and she breaks free, and she tells homeostasis to go away, and yeah, it's good. Like, Hikari's fine. Like, that's a fine option. Also, honorable mention to Tomoki for being just a precious pure child in the burger making episode. Like, there must be something positive to say about Frontier, and it's Tomoki being...
I think he's the guy I picked as my worst one.
Probably, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, you don't like him. My worst was definitely Henry's sister, Shuchon.
Does she count? She's not even part of the team.
She
Wait, no,
has a Digimon.
Yeah, she did get one.
She got
she was
Postmon.
garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be fair,
Oh, yeah.
by herself, she's awful. But, like, when she's combined with Antilamon, it's great.
That is true.
Yeah, but, like,
She was a lot of fun that way.
By herself, absolute rubbish. For the listeners said, and this is pretty fair enough. Also, honorable mention to Astra, by the way. I hated him at the start, and he definitely counts as the kid because they're all 14 and he's 8. So,
Astra was great.
yeah, Astra's great, like, but I don't think I could put him as my... I feel like I'd like Takeru more, but definitely, like, Astra's still there. Like, I do have a lot of heart for Astra because, like, I hated him at the start. And then, like, I grew to just, like, oh, he's great. And then he, like, you know, he's just so there for his friend, just like, yeah, I'm feeling it. It's great. Like, it's good. I like him. He's a good kid. Anyway, so for the listeners, for the favourites, we have 34.3% saying Hikari. Not surprising. Also not surprising, 31.3% say Takeru. And then 13.4% say Ikuto, which I don't think Jay would remember this character.
Who?
Ikuto was the one with the Falcomon in Sabers.
Who?
The
little boy,
Yeah.
the wild kid. Yeah,
Tarzan.
yeah.
Yeah, like, that's
Okay.
fair. Like, I like him, but, like, yeah, I just prefer the characters who are, like, I like Astra, I like Hikari, I like Takeru, but Ikuto's fine. Then for the worst, we have tied for first place, 23.1%. Who do you think this would be?
For the best?
For the worst, there's a tie.
Ikuto?
No, Ikuto's third place in the best. He's not in the
Oh, right,
not
yeah,
least
yeah,
favourite.
okay, I don't know the answer.
Because it's both of our least favourites.
Oh, so it's, I've already forgotten the guy from Sabers' name again.
What? No, you didn't say Sabers. Like,
Wait, what am I looking at? Well, no, it's Frontier, the one from Frontier.
Tomoki.
Yeah, that one.
And Shuchon, so that's fair. And then 16.9% said Astra, and I just like to believe that this is because they haven't watched Atmon and they couldn't choose one of the characters that they actually liked, so they picked the one they didn't know, and that's all I can think of.
I have no idea.
Because, like, I love Astra, he's so good. Alright, best and worst Digimon. Who's the best Digimon?
The best Digimon is clearly Gilmon.
Yeah.
He's ideal. He's playful and he's dumb. He's just, like, fun.
He's a
So,
dog.
like Agumons have been fine, but, like, they're not as good, you know?
Gilmon's definitely better than Agumon, and I feel like that's
Yeah.
what Takado designed him to be, so well done. Like, he is a better Agumon. He's adorable. He's like this dog who likes bread, and he's in a box, and it just feels like, is that not just how a Labrador would sound?
It's exactly the same voice.
Like, it's just like, I'm in a box, I want some bread. And getting really excited about bread that's shaped in his head. Like, it's just a dog. And in that same way, I also like Gomamon because he's also a bit like a dog, but Gomamon's more like a Langley dog. Like, a kind of a dog who's a little bit naughty, who's a little bit smarter, but kind of like wants to have fun. And by fun, I mean manipulate you. But yeah, having said that, my favorites are actually any Digimon that gives me a laugh or entertain me. So this is like Pedaldramon with the advice of like, ding dong, don't forget to brush your teeth. Like, that's... Why was that added? Because it's fantastic. And then we have Bokumon and Namon, which are also just, like, very entertaining. But remember, though, like, Bokumon, Namon, and Pedaldramon are all from Frontier. Yes, Frontier. And a season that, like, we didn't particularly enjoy. So maybe it's just because I was trying to find some joy in the season, and because they gave me so much joy, I like them. But I remember them, but I think that's what makes a Digimon likable and memorable, is how much it entertains me. Also, another character who has entertained me is Terriermon, because of just the whole discussion that we had where we were just talking about how what if Terriermon is just insane, and that's why when he evolves he just starts shooting things because he just wants to, not because he can't control his arms, but because he's just insane. And I love that. Like, I love
I
Terriermon.
really wish they'd gone into that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they kind of forgot about it, which is not good. They should have continued with like, oh, we can't make Terriermon evolve, and then it was just like, I'm pretty sure they fixed it that episode, I think.
They ditched it really quickly.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, that's going to be difficult for whenever they want to fight, where they have to work out how to control Terriermon. Let's just ignore it. Like, I don't know. But I just...
It's amazing because there's a lot of times in shows where they write something, it's like it makes things difficult for all the characters.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's intriguing. And usually that's where growth comes from. And I love that in Digimon, and by love, I mean, I think it's really dumb, that in Digimon, rather than having your story based around overcoming those things, they say, ooh, that would make it kind of interesting to have to write each episode around it, and that would be hard.
Yeah.
So we just won't.
But I feel like Atmon wrote the hard things and managed to do well.
Yeah, because they actually tried.
Yeah, and like...
That was many years later.
Tamers mostly did fine, except for Terriermon.
Did they?
I don't know. I like Tamers, but as for worst, who's your least favourite Digimon?
My least favorite Digimon were Mamimon and Arukenimon equally.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Because they always won, and they had the kids, they were dead, and then they just left. Like, think about this, I can't blame the Royal Knights for being boring and repetitive, because that's not really their fault as characters. And the obvious answer, coming from me, is like, oh, I'm going to say Blackwall Greymon, and you go, yeah, I guess. But he was, like, edgy and annoying, and I think that the reason I didn't like him, and it's been several years, so I'm quite a distance from it, but it's just because, like, he felt kind of out of place, and he was too into himself. But he was never in that same position where he had everything he wanted and then gave it up for no reason, which is very specific because it almost never ever happens.
Yeah. Mine's pretty predictable. My least favourite was Numemon in Digimon Adventure, but that was the point. You were meant to find them disgusting. You were meant to not like them. But I can't think of any other Digimon who I just don't like. Can you think of a Digimon that I don't like? Because I can't.
Off the top of my head, I can't really.
Like, I guess the Pooh ones, like Numemon and Sukamon, and I guess Sukamon and Chumon were kind of weird, but that was their point, and they kind of had a bit of redemption. Then we saw Chumon die, and like that was a thing, so that's fine. But Numemon and Adventure were just disgusting. But yeah, it's a hard one, because like, do you not like a Digimon because of its design, or do you not like a Digimon because of its character?
Mostly because of character.
Yeah, I'm really surprised.
That's why you should make a decision.
Because of one of the least favourites for the listeners, but we'll get to that in a second, because I'll just do the best for the listeners first. So this one was an open-ended one, so people gave in text responses. But we did have a couple that had more than one response. So we have 8.3% say Gilmon, and it's tied with Renamon. 6.7% say Patamon, and then we have a tie at 5%, Terriermon and Tailmon. For worst, we have 6.9% saying Numemon. That's fair. And then we have one that's puzzling. We have 5.2% who say Armadillomon.
That's random.
I know, like, I like Armadillomon. He's...
Even if you don't necessarily like him, it's a very weird one to choose as, I don't like that guy specifically, you know?
Yeah, it's a sort of... Yeah, Numemon's just like, well, yeah. And there were, I believe it was like 2 or 3% said Sukamon. Like, yeah, that's fair, it's Pooh. Numemon's just kind of like, yeah, that's fair. But like, Armadillomon, more than one person said Armadillomon. Like, several people said Armadillomon at 5%. But like...
Yeah, you needed a reasons, like, box in that one, because those people would be passionate about their choices, almost certainly.
Like, he had more of a character than Iori, and like, he had a Nagoya band in the original, and he was a cowboy in the dub. Like, I don't know, I like that. I don't know, it's puzzling. I like Armadillomon, like, he's just Dagya.
I forgot about that entirely.
You know, like Dagya. Why would someone not like Armadillomon?
Why would someone disrespect your son like this?
Yeah, like, I didn't particularly like him as a design. Like, when I was a kid, I was like, oh yeah, he's my least favourite. But like, now I'm just kind of like, you know what? I love him. I love all of them. They're my friends. But like, why would someone not like Armadillomon? He's the reliable guardian of the sea. And then he has the drill of power, but also the drill of knowledge. I love him. Also, he says Dagya, and it's so cute. I don't know. It's some things are just sort of like. It's not that I disagree because people are allowed to have their own opinions, but like.
Are they?
I wish you're right. I should have had. Please explain why you don't like Amadimon. Like, if you are listening to this and you said you don't like Amadimon, please tell me why. Like, why particularly that Digimon? He's a delight. All right, now I've gotten over that. Bad guys. There are no listener opinions for this. This one is just for us. So, who was your favorite bad guy? And this can be like favorite as in you thought that they were a cool design or they had like a cool story arc behind them or you found them effective. Who was yours?
Where is that question on my sheet? Oh God, it's not there.
Might be near the bottom.
Well,
I'll just say mine.
there it is.
Yep,
And I didn't answer it. Oh God. The best one was Piedmon probably. That just makes the most sense. And the worst one was like, no, like I both love and hate Vamdemon in equal measure, you know?
Well, you can't be your worst then.
Yeah, that's true. Who was the worst? Oh, it's Lucemon is easily the worst.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Easily.
I forgot he existed. So...
Oh, and Leviathan's the best, I guess?
Oh yeah.
Leviathan is the one who has the most effective plan in all of Digimon.
And
he gets this close.
Weirdly was able to stick around as a bad guy from episode 1 and didn't come in, oh by the way, we have some bad guys at the end of the season. And like, so props to them. My
You got to be around for an entire season.
Yeah, I know, but that's rare in Digimon. I get even Frontier's the only one who gets kind of close with this is the bad guy, and they kind of just foreshadow Lucemon from like very early on in the show. But most of the time in Digimon, it's just like last 2 episodes have a bad guy, and it's just I don't know, it's just weird. It's just weird that Digimon cannot have a bad guy that is there from episode 1, and Atmon's the only season who did it, I think, right? Except for Frontier, but that was kind of like it was still Cherubimon being the bad guy in Frontier at the start. Lucemon was just kind of like mentioned, so yeah, well done to them. Anyway, best was Piedmon and Puppetmon. They're tied. Puppetmon tries to shoot an 8-year-old. Like
they're the same villain. They're all just the Dark Masters together.
I'll just say the Dark Masters then, because like I really like the Dark Masters. I feel like each of them came the closest to ever killing a child.
Yeah, other than Leviathan.
Mugendramon tried to blow them up with like missiles. Like, well done. Metal Seedramon was just like, I'm just gonna have them drown and just they can't stay underwater forever. And then Piedmon was just like, I don't want to kill them, I just want to turn them to keychains because I think that'll be fun. And Puppetmon was like, I've got a gun. And
just like John Wayne would have done.
Yeah. Most entertaining also from Adventure, Edamon. I loved Edamon.
Oh, Edamon's great. Yeah, he was like my second.
Like his lackeys, the Gazimon, they were also probably like the best repertoire between a lackey and a bad guy. Like, I don't know. I
don't think you've used the word repertoire correctly, but continue.
Okay, but like, you get what I'm saying. They have a chemistry.
Oh, you mean a rapport?
Yes, you're right. I do mean rapport. I don't know why I said repertoire. Yeah, yes, you're right. That's repertoire is just like, oh, this is my repertoire of cooking skills. Why is a handprint on the ceiling? I don't know. That was just the direction I looked in. Anyway, no idea. Must be from the last people who lived here. Anyway, so my least favourite is Quartzmon because he was never threatening. He was just a rock with like the column and then eye emoticon. Like he's just like the neutral emoticon. And I don't know. He's just a worse D-Reaper and he's so bad that they made him summon other Digimon in order to seem even a little bit threatening because he was in effect just a giant rock. Like, I don't know. Do you like Quartzmon? Does anybody like Quartzmon?
No one likes Quartzmon.
No. And as I said, like, it's a problem with Digimon about how they have the bad guy kind of being just relevant for the last 2 episodes, or I guess the last 4 episodes, or 3.5 episodes in this case.
I bet everyone picked Apocalypse as their favourite, right? Because
no, we didn't. We didn't do listeners once for this one.
No, I know, but like I bet that's just how everyone feels in their hearts.
No,
must be him.
I don't think anyone really super remembers Apocalypse besides the why do you get the pizza when all I get is the crust?
Who is that?
I'm really mad because every month at work we get like a pizza on Friday. That's just a thing we do now.
Why would you be upset by that?
Because every time, like,
you don't get the pizza, you just get the crust.
I just say it by mistake, and they just look at me like, you can have the whole pizza if you want. Like, they just look at me like, no, I'm it's fine.
I'm doing a bit.
You're all a decade older than me. I'm still the youngest despite almost being 26.
Despite all your best efforts.
Yeah, and then my boss writes, for the Herald Sun one day is an article, and he was interviewed, and he said, "We are not a company of young people," and I just cried. And then I showed it to Joyce, who is...
He made you old.
Yeah, and I'm just like, "Joyce, we're not a company of young people," and she's almost 40, and she's just like, "No." Anyway, we're all very old, and nobody gets my Digimon references because I'm the only one who's in their 20s.
I'm glad no one gets it for their own protection.
Yeah. I mean, they know Digimon exists because I've got tattoos and they've asked me, but like... Anyway, so that's a thing. And our last couple of questions for crazy characters come from Chakmon. So first of all, which Digimon would you like as a partner? No, Jay, you cannot pick a holy beast.
Okay, you see, I said Wu Qinglongmon would be the obvious choice, because there's two answers, right? There's who would I want to hang out with, and who would be the most beneficial. So Gilmon is the correct answer, because he's like a good dog.
But also,
or alternatively, yeah?
Gilmon evolves into a royal knight.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
that's also very strong.
Yeah, it is. It's like the same thing.
Yeah. My pick was... I'm pretty sure I just said Dracomon, but in case I didn't, I'm just scrolling to see. Yeah, I just said Dracomon, but, like, I do have a couple of Digimon who are just kind of like, hey, I really like that Digimon's design. And I guess that's the next question that Chuckmon asks. If you could add 3 more Digimon to your team, including the one mentioned above, who would it be?
The rest of the holy beasts.
And no, also you can't pick that.
Okay, well my answers are Kulamon, if he counts. I don't know if he does.
He doesn't have any attacks, he just makes them evolve, but like that's something that
Well,
theoretically
what do
you
I
would
care? Am I fighting a bad guy?
I guess.
Well, then no one said that. I'm just picking a team.
Okay.
Gomamon, because he's the best.
Yeah.
And Zed Millenniummon.
Okay, I feel like that's cheating, but also
Says who?
the last guy who like tried to be friends with Zed Millenniummon ended up having Zed Millenniummon fall in love with him a little bit and then was reborn into his partner.
Worth.
So like, but also cool design. Remember when he showed up for like half a second in 02?
I honestly do not.
Yeah, he's in the background we get Ken and Ryo hanging out in a scene, and there's just Zed Millenniummon in the background. I'm just like, okay, that's what he looks like. So yeah, that's fine. So obviously Dracomon is the first, and then the additional 3 are Kukuamon. That looks like a taser bug, if you're not aware. I love Kukuamon. And then Keramon evolves into Diaboromon, is just cool looking. I love Diaboromon's evolution line, except for Infamon, but that's the point. He looks like a spider. He's meant to be creepy. I just love Keramon. And then I also have Haguramon, because I really dig his aesthetic, and I really like Robot Digimon. Yeah, those are my choices.
You say it with such regret. I know I didn't pick the right ones, but
because like I love so many Digimon, but like Dracomon of course because Thea, and then Kukuamon because Taserbug, and Keramon because Virus, and Haguramon because adorable Gear. I don't know. It's cool. I like Digimon.
I get that.
Yay.
I'm aware.
Exciting episodes and moving movies. What were your favourite episodes for each season? So, first of all, Adventure.
This was the hardest one to put together. So playing games was probably the best one in Adventure.
That's mine too.
Hard to argue.
What about worst?
The worst one was, and you're gonna hate me, it's Pump and Gotsu are Shibuya type Digimon.
See, I just have that as like an episode that I liked, but I wouldn't say it was good. I just like it because it was fun, but like I don't hate like any worst decision. It's fine. My worst one was Forget About It, the Small Devil Pico Devimon, just because it was annoying. And also, I want to point out that I wrote an entire blog, well, several blogs for each season, and it's best, worst, and most meh episode. So I already had all this planned, and the answers did not change, so well done me.
Fair enough.
So yeah, my list, and I've always mentioned it, I don't like the separation episodes. They annoy me. Like we're fighting now for a dumb reason, and I feel like it's a dumb reason. So
yeah, 100%.
Forget About It is Yep.
Is that the one with Matt fighting them?
No, it's Pico Devimon shows up, and Takeru's all like, I'm gonna be friends with Pico Devimon, and Tokumon's just like, but he's evil.
That one sucked.
And then he tries to feed them from the amnesia mushrooms.
I was gonna pick the one where Matt turned on them all because of a tree, but then I remembered that like Vandemon had them beat and just walked away, and I got really angry, and how angry I was, and how we argued about it for like an hour.
Oh yeah, no, that's reasonable. That is completely reasonable. And I think I might have hung up on you in the Skype call at the time, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I know you hate it when I'm right.
Yeah, I know that happened at one point. What about 02? What was the best episode?
I think it was 20,000 Leagues Under the Digisea, which is like the one where you find out Iori's backstory, and I'm like, oh, okay. He kind of makes sense now.
Yeah, the lying one, how Joe explains to him that sometimes you have to lie.
Yeah, that was like interesting.
Yeah, no, you're right, that was good. I said Invasion of the Demon Core because of course I did. Like, it was the highlight of 02 for me. Do you remember?
Oh, I totally forgot about that episode. Yeah, I was like going through lists, but I can't,
it's the,
envisage full episodes that long.
Hey Hikari, should we tell them that they have to kill Digimon? Like, that was great. And then we have, like, Miyako hitting Lady Devimon with a skateboard. Like, good episode. What was the worst for you?
The worst was Digimon World Tour. It's not even a question.
The worst one for me was also not a question, because it was Davis Cries Wolfmon, because he actively abuses his partner Digimon to evolve and doesn't get, like, an evil Digimon.
Oh, yeah! The peeing one, the turtle.
Yeah, the exact same thing happened in Adventure, and we got an evil Digimon. Similar thing happened in Tamers, similar thing happens in Sabers, evil Digimon. What did we get here? Oh, he evolves!
He did just fine.
But he wanted to evolve his Digimon not because he wanted to protect everyone else, or because he felt betrayed, or because he was just super angry and he wanted revenge and wanting to fight a bad guy. He wanted to evolve his Digimon to impress a girl. That's the worst part. Anyway.
I remember that.
Tamers, what was the best episode?
The best episode of Tamers was introducing Terriermon.
Oh yeah, that's fair. Mine was Song of Sakuyamon, because it was just such a good episode, and it was really a turning point of, like, we finally see Ruki being this grown-up person, just realizing that she loves Digimon, and she sacrifices herself to save Kulamon, and jumps into the D-Reaper, and evolves with her partner, who previously she said she hated and was just data to her. So it was great. So yeah, that episode. What about the worst one?
Kazu's Upgrade.
But that one was good. It had
Was it?
It had the alcoholic giant snake.
Oh yeah. No, well the English one really sucked because it was milkshakes.
Yes, but in the original, just like, oh, well, my dad has all this experience with these drunk guys, and I know how to, like, deal with them. Like, wow. But yeah, I don't know why they gave that episode that title in English, because it was not about Kazu at all.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
so I picked it because I'm like, I remember being upset about that, and I just don't remember what the rest of the episode was about.
Yeah, we were just upset because the name was changed. It was like the episode in Adventure, which was called The Girls' Battle in the original, and it was called Joe's Battle in the dub.
Oh yeah.
And it was Girls' Battle because it was Angel Woman and Lady Devimon fight for half an hour, and meanwhile, in a different room, Joe's kind of like a little bit worried about the path he's going down because he feels overshadowed by his brothers. But yeah, anyway, names
I'm not
weird.
a doctor.
Yeah. So what about... Oh, I didn't say my worst one. My worst one was the Boar Wars, which is the one where they fight the giant boar, and then Juri gets a Digivice at the end, and they decide they're going to go to the digital world. And I don't like this episode because they just lose for half an hour, and not in a good way, just in a frontier way of just like, this is boring. They just lose for the entire episode. What about Frontier?
Frontier to Home Again, Takuya Returns is probably the best one because it had the Doom Train in it.
Yeah, I liked that episode, but also mine
It made you think something was going on, and then it wasn't ever, but it made you think there might be.
Oh yeah, it definitely had potential, but then again, it did the
But then
thing.
again.
So mine was You Won't Fries with that, just because it was such a good episode, because it was the first episode and only episode when Takuya and Koji are off being awful, and we actually get the other characters, Azumi, Tomoki, and Junpei, having a story and having events happen to them, because that never happens again after, because they spend the next couple of episodes being useless, because they have to give their spirits up to Takuya and Koji for them to evolve, and they just become not relevant the whole time. And so I liked the episode because it was something different. Also, Pedaldramon was in it. I love Pedaldramon, and he just wanted to eat burgers, and he gave us advice. What about the worst?
The worst is to make the world go away, because they zap them off the face of the moon.
Is that the last episode?
It's like the third or fourth last. It's when they get popped off the moon and land on the train.
No, they get popped off the Earth and land on the train to go to the moon.
Is it? Or something like that.
Yeah, anyway, it's dumb. Anyway,
it's really dumb.
However dumb that is, my worst episode is definitely Kazemon Kicks It, because it's her evolution episode, and she doesn't win. And that just really annoys me.
Yeah, I can see why.
Savers! What was your favourite episode in Savers? Was it Masaru punching things?
Yes, every time.
Yeah, it's supercut of Masaru punching. what was your favorite episode?
My favorite episode was the Norstein family secret when you found out that his grandma was really racist.
Oh yeah. No, that one was good. That one was good. Mine was the Wrath of Saber Leomon because it had such cute like family moments when Akuto is brought home to Masaru's family and they're all like, let's put him in the shower, and then a tiny 8-year-old girl throws both Akuto and his Digimon into the bath, and it's great.
Oh yeah, I
and
remember
then
that.
they play like the flicking game, and they play like a bunch of games, and it's super fun. And then
That was really good because that was when the story just like took a huge break. Like, oh, don't have to watch Digimon right now. I can watch this other show that's happening while Digimon's supposedly running.
and it was just cute, like family life story. And then at the end, of course, they fight Saber Leomon, but then Saber Leomon gets shot in the face by what's his face?
The scientist man.
I want to say Keenan, but that's not Keenan. That's
No.
not his name at all. The professor, whatever, Professor Face.
McGonagall.
Anyway, the guy who's clearly evil the entire time shoots him in the face. Anyway, the episode was good because it took us away from Digimon and it gave us sort of a family episode, and that's really great because I feel like Savers to me is about family, and I like the family episodes. The other adventure episode that I would say is at least the second best is Flower Power. What do we do in that episode? We spend time with the families. It is good to have a break from Digimon where we get to see the family because it's nice.
I love that like we want to have a break from Digimon.
Yeah, but it is nice. And it's episode 22, so we're like, we're quite a chunk into it. Let's have some nice time and then shoot a Leomon in the face because that's what Digimon is about. What about the worst episode?
The worst episode was the truth about Keenan when they yeet him into the portal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like why would you have your baby near a portal? Why?
It's like really dangerous. So that's
Like,
where it should be, right?
Didn't we come up with a theory about how the dad was just kind of like getting rid of the child on purpose?
Yeah, like you didn't. He's like, oh, it was such a tragedy, but that's why we just moved on immediately and we're totally fine afterwards.
Yeah, like, my least favorite was also in the same way that Kazemon Kicks It was my least favorite. The Singer's Secret is my least favorite because it's the girl's episode and girl doesn't fight because like girl is having emotions or something.
Yeah.
It was just bad. It could have been so good if it was her just slapping the dude. He had a Chrysalimon. I think his name was like Neo or Light or something edgy and like in a boy bandy. I don't know, but like she should have just slapped him and I would have been happy. But no, she just sort of sits there and Toma and Masaru rescue her and it's terrible. All right, this is fresh on our minds. Cross Wars, best episode.
Mikey Goes to Another World because like it's when it all had promise and might be interesting, but then it turned out not to be. But at least at the time, you're like, I can see what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we already went over this last time. My answer hasn't changed. Hang On Greymon, The Rise of Shatmon DX. This is the Lotmon episode, and it's great.
Yeah.
And also, my least favorite episode hasn't changed. It's the Okonomiyaki Panic. Has your least favorite episode in Cross Wars changed?
It's still the last one where like he takes all the powers of all the kids you like, and then he's like, oh yeah, but I'm the coolest though.
And what about in Try? What was your favorite chapter? Mine was 3.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think about Try, and I'm like, oh yeah, that ended really badly.
It ended fine. It was like,
no,
okay.
it didn't. Because it had this promise the entire time of like, we will get there, and then it never did. It's like, oh yeah, they were in those... They didn't even animate them.
No.
Like, they're behind those doors.
No, you're right. And they didn't even have designs. They're just kind of like shadows of how they looked in 2002.
Super embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like, they had, 2.5 years?
Yeah.
Like, I had a silly amount of time to get on it, and they just never bothered, I
Yeah.
guess.
But still, my favorite was chapter 3. Do you have...
Yeah, because you were vindicated. I guess it was it like, number 3. Number 3 is the right answer.
Well, it's either 3 or 2. Those were the best in my mind.
Yeah.
And what about the worst?
Um,
Mine's chapter 5 because it was just like, hey, Mako, let's tell you the same thing over and over again. You're not terrible.
yeah, I think I agree with that one too.
I feel like
There's not that many choices.
Chapter 5 only had 20 minutes that was relevant and the rest was just not needing to be watched.
Yeah, no, chapter 5 was the one where they're like, no, you're the best character. Everyone loves you.
Yes, and then at the end,
God.
Hikari is just like, hey, remember that I'm on the poster too?
No,
Anyway, what about Atmon? What was the best episode?
I didn't look at it because I didn't know if it counted.
Mine's episode 4, I Shall Have You in a Costume, Cameramon's
No, I
Halloween
did.
Candle.
I had either the Truth About Eugen or the Miraculous Final Evolution, the God Atmon, whichever one it was, where like it clicked and you're like, oh my god, it's because he was letting them.
Yeah, I can't remember that one, but you're right, it was with I think it was the one before the God Atmon. I feel like it was just like the end of episode sort of like mind blow, but you're right, I forgot about that. You're right, that's so good. Like, oh, why was it so easy? Because I let it be. Like, oh my god, that is so good. Atmon is so good. I know we shouldn't talk about Atmon all the time, but like, Atmon's so good.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Why doesn't this have like an official English release yet? Even like a bad dub. Like, I mean, I would like a good dub, but even an English dub, that'd be fine.
Even I'm shocked it doesn't have.
Yeah, I mean, it's been dubbed in different languages. There's not even news about it, which is just so weird. Are they so scared of Cross Wars?
Yes.
But Atmon was just well done, amazing. Mwah. But yeah, I really liked the Cameron episode because it was sort of the moment where you watch the show and you realize that this is a good show. Like, this is like, and I remember when you and I watched it and you were just like, oh, this is not terrible. And even, I mean, I know you said that about the first episode, but it really set what it was about in episode 4, and alternatively, I believe it's episode 36 where we get the airy results about the idol election. That's also there, but I feel like
I think that was probably the real one. That was actually the best one, but like I forgot about it, but it's really good.
Yeah. There are a lot of good episodes in Atmon, and it was one of those things where it is harder to choose the best episode in Atmon because there are just a lot of good episodes, and even episodes that at the time we might have said, oh yeah, it's a fine episode, it's not fantastic, but it had like a moment that was just, as you said, the moment we realized that Leviathan was letting all this happen, like it was all just part of his keikaku, like like, oh, why were you winning the whole time? Why did we even get the chips then? Like, it was, you kind of just gave them to us. Yes, you're right, I did. Like, that's just, whoa. Like, it's like if the crests were given to the kids in Adventure because they needed to be, or like how Vamdemon needed to die. Like, that was never actually said to be part of his plan. I just think he just got really, really lucky. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Because he didn't want to die.
No, of course not. He wanted to win. He was doing his stuff to win.
Yeah.
And then there are other bad guys who don't seem to be playing to win, but they have no other plan.
Yeah.
So you're like, well, that makes them a bad villain.
Because remember, if Vamdemon's plan was to become Venom Vamdemon and be killed by Angelwoman, he would have given the Crest of Light to the child and had them be friends and evolve so they could kill him. But that was not part of his plan, because when she got the Crest of Light, his words were not her no. And that was in a way of, she's going to kill me. But turns out he evolved. Like, it just turned... Like, imagine if you said, oh, this was all according to Keikaku. Like, I don't know. It was... Atmon's good. Anyway, worst episode in Atmon. It can't be the recap episode because...
It's the Gatchmon one.
The buddy cancellation?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine too. I just don't like... most of my ones I don't like are the Okonomiyaki Panic. Forget about it. I don't like the ones where they're fighting because it annoys me, because usually most of the time there's a dumb reason, and Gatchmon was being just uncharacteristically dumb, and this episode was just... It's one of the few episodes I would say, this is a bad episode. Like,
yeah, it was the only one I was like, I got to the end of it and I was like, I just wish I hadn't seen that at all.
Yeah, it just like, it really brought down the rest of Atmon as being like this perfect pinnacle of all the wonderful things in the series. It was just like, oh, this episode is bad. Oh no. I mean, maybe
the show might be bad.
Maybe it's bad only in comparison with the other episodes being good. I feel like it's still better than some of the episodes in Young Hunters, I guess. We have that different scale, right? We have the scale, we have the Atmon scale, we have the Tamer scale, and then we have the Frontier and the Young Hunter scale, I guess, maybe. I don't know. What about overall favourite episodes? Like, what was your favourite episodes in all of Digimon? Like, what's your top favourite?
I don't know. I guess it's one of those.
Mine's playing games, it's easy.
Yeah,
like, that's just such... I like when the bad guys show to be not stupid and actually try to kill the kids because it makes them threatening. And this episode was just, it was good. It was like one of the first episodes where Jay was went, oh no, this is good.
And there was also kind of like the last one.
Oh, and we got into Tamers.
Is it the episode where Eri gets with the voting? Is that actually the best episode of all of Digimon? I think it might be. And you know why? Because there's no Digimon in it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is a very emotional episode. And I would also say, yeah, that's one of my favorite. But, like, also just playing games is just so good. Like, it's good. I mean, I may be biased because I'm pretty sure it was the first episode of Digimon I ever watched. But, like, it's just a good episode. What about the worst episode in all of Digimon? Like, the bottom of the bottom?
I really want to say it's that one where Lucibon bounces them off the planet, because that is the worst thing that has ever happened in a piece of media that I have watched.
I still don't like episode 4 of Digimon Frontier. She loses her evolution episode. That's never happened before, and I hate
Yeah,
it.
but I don't care. You only care about that if you care about the formula of the show, and I don't.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. But we can agree that the worst episode for both of us comes from Digimon Frontier.
Yes.
And now we have
Bounce
the
off
listeners.
the planet.
Yeah, also, yeah, the bounce of the planet. Yeah, you enter the train.
Into the sky where a train is flying.
But they built the rebellion on the moon, but no one was there when they got there. I don't know. Thanks, Frontier. Excellent writing, A+. Anyway, listeners, they, for adventure, the best was 21.1% saying Home Away from Home. That's completely reasonable. 25% say Wizamon's Gift, which is the death of Wizamon and the evolution to Angelwomon. For the worst episodes, 21.5% say they don't remember, 17% say The Crest of Sincerity, which is the boat one with the giant chicken, and 16% say Princess Karaoke. I guess
people liked that one, yeah.
But that was the worst. Like,
right,
yeah.
I missed that part.
Yeah, so the worst ones they thought was 17% Crest of Sincerity, 16% say Princess Karaoke. I like those episodes.
I mean, you're allowed.
Yeah. 402, for favourites, we have 16.2% say His Master's Voice, the Dark Ocean episode, and then 11.7% say Genesis of Evil, which is the Ken and his backstory episode. For the least favourites, 15.4% say Don't Remember, 15% say Davis Cries Wolfmon, which is my least favourite, and 11.7% say A Million Points of Light, which is the last episode, and I feel like that's because a lot of people just don't like the epilogue, because the epilogue has a lot of issues in it.
That's pretty fair.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue with that.
I mean, it is like half the episode as well, and the other half is just like hopes and dreams of defeating Belial Vamdemon, and we're all Digidestined now.
That's all you need.
So for Tamers,
Thoughts and
13%
prayers.
say Lionheart, which is Leomon's death, 11.3% say Give a Little Bit, which is the Dukemon's evolution episode, and 7.3% say they don't remember. For the least favourites, 23.5% say don't remember, and then 18.2% say Kazu and Kenta's Excellent Adventure, which is the Digimon and Barbamon episode, which is reasonable. For Frontier, and this is when we start to get people saying they haven't watched seasons, so 13.4% say they haven't watched Frontier, 12.6% don't remember what their favourite was, and 8.5% say Home Again, Takuya Returns, which is one of the best episodes in Frontier, and then 7.3% say End of the Line, which is the last episode. For the worst episodes in Frontier, 19.4% say don't remember, 13.8% said haven't watched, and 6.1% say Trailmon vs. Trailmon, which is the Wacky Races episode, which is fair. I found that episode to be fine because it was entertaining. Then for Savers, 27.1%, and this is for favourites, said haven't watched, 13% say The Power of Burst Mode, and 12.6% say they don't remember. For least favourite, 29.1% haven't watched, 20.2% don't remember, and 5.3% are tied for The Singer's Secret, which is my least favourite, and The Ultimate Team No More, which is another one of my least favourite because they're fighting and they separate, and I just don't like those episodes. For Cross Wars, as for favourites, we have 40.1% say they haven't watched Cross Wars, which is a pretty huge percentage actually. 10.9% say they don't remember, and 7.7% say Final Fusion, which is the last episode, and 4.5% say The Warrior Bielsamon Dances, which is the one where we realise that Balmon's actually Bielsamon, and I would agree that is a good episode. For least favourites, for Cross Wars, 39.7% haven't watched, 17.4% can't remember, and 6.5% say Sweet Zone Bake Off. I don't understand, that episode was fine. Then for Young Hunters, which in the listeners, I have split the episodes, so for Young Hunters, 46.2% said haven't watched, and 24.3% say Grand Gathering of Legendary Heroes, which is actually Jay's least favourite, so it's interesting to see that people find that being their favourite. I would say because of the nostalgia value, maybe. 9.3% say don't remember, and 6.1% say that their favourite episode was Burn Up Tigeru, which is the last episode. I would only assume it's because the title is Burn Up Tigeru, and they want to burn up Tigeru because they hate it.
And they had watched it, and they're like, ooh, what happened to this episode?
Hope he dies. Anyway, so for least favourite, 46.2% say haven't watched, 13.4% can't remember, and 4% say We the Digimon Hunters, and it's actually tied with Now Burn Up Tigeru, which is the last episode. So it's interesting that people have that as their least favourite as well as their favourite episode. Then finally for Atmon, for favourites, 53.8% haven't watched it, which is fair. It's not available in English legally, so that's fair. And then we have the last episode of Atmon being the favourite at 7.7%, so it was a very split one. Also, most people haven't watched it. And then for the least favourite, 53.8% haven't watched, 10.5% say they don't remember, and 8.1% say that the worst episode in Atmon was the recap episode.
Which it is. It is
fine.
objectively the worst episode because nothing happens in it.
For movie, what was your favourite Digimon movie? Because I think we agree.
My favourite Digimon movie was just Our War Game.
Yeah, I would agree.
Very, very simple.
Yeah, it is definitely, it's the only Digimon movie I would just say this is a good movie.
It's the correct choice.
Yeah, it's just like, there are other ones that I've enjoyed, but Our War Game is the best for me. The worst is obvious, and I looked at your notes and it was surprisingly not what I thought it was. So what was your worst?
Hurricane Touchdown?
Yeah, mine was X Evolution.
Yeah, you know what? X Evolution's funny.
Because it's bad, and it's funny to laugh at.
Yeah, and you know what? Hurricane Touchdown is painful to watch.
You're
and
right.
There's nothing interesting about it at all.
But hang on, remember, the dub makes it even amazing by having All-Star when Digimon is, like, dancing, and also the time where Davis just starts crying because of Willis's story, and then Willis says, hey, it didn't happen to you, get over it. And Davis says, okay, and he's happy then. Why?
That'll do it.
That's fair, but, like, X Evolution was my worst because, like, Hurricane Touchdown, that was like a fever dream at least.
That doesn't make it good, you know.
Yeah, you're right.
Fever dreams are bad, traditionally.
For the listeners, this is all fairly reasonable reactions that we have from listeners. So 43.7% say Our War Game, 17.8% say Digimon the Movie, which means all three parts combined, and 8.9% say Dear Boromon Strikes Back, which is fair. I also like Dear Boromon Strikes Back. That's why I can quote the entire movie. As for
Not embarrassing at all.
The worst movie, according to the listeners, it's fairly split, so we have like very small percentages. We have 17.4% say Hurricane Touchdown, 17% say Digimon the Movie, so it's interesting that 17% say it's their favourite, and another 17% say it's their least favourite. And then we have 16.6% saying X Evolution, and that's the correct choice because it's just bad CG. Like, the next one is Season End. What was your favorite ending of a season of Digimon?
Best ending was probably Tamers because like they really left you with those emotions you wanted to feel of like, oh no, like, you know, Digimon are gone, but maybe they're back. I don't know, maybe. And there's like this, it's kind of complex and interesting, which very few other seasons manage. Even the ending of Atmon is kind of just like okay. I remember not being super impressed with it. I was like, oh yeah, okay, he's coming down maybe he's coming down the stairs. I don't know, but it wasn't the same in this. Whereas I got to the end of Tamers, and even though I didn't like Digimon very much, still don't. You felt like, oh, but maybe you could see Guilmon again because you care about that.
Yeah, I agree. The my favorite ending was also Tamers. Like, it was just sort of like that hopeful open ending, and in that way also kind of like the Atmon ending because it's also open in the way like you're not sure, hey, is this a dream sequence, is this actually happening, is this in the future? But Tamers is definitely my favorite ending because it's kind of hopeful, but you can also see it in the way that maybe they never see each other again, maybe it's just this light. And I like the way that no matter who you are, you might have a different interpretation in the ending, and I don't know, just seeing Takado's happy face is just so nice. Like, I'm happy he's happy. So, what about your least favorite ending in all of Digimon?
The worst ending, where did I write this? I can't really talk about the Frontier ending without remembering, oh yeah, they were blasted off into space. Because that was around that same thing. But like, yeah, you know what? I'm sure it's probably the one that gets the worst. It actually probably is 02, because that epilogue sucks. That epilogue really sucks.
Yeah, no, mine is actually Digimon Frontier being the worst ending because, like, are we just going to forget because the children get into a hospital without, I'm not sure how they got through security, but they get into an operating room in an emergency ward of a hospital, these group of children.
Oh yeah, the magic tears.
And they cry on him and drop their mobiles on him, and he comes back to life. Like, is that not just the dumbest thing in the entire everything? Like, who wrote this? Who was like, yes, I feel like 4 10-year-olds could get into a hospital, into an operating theatre, and then cry on someone and bring them back to life. Like, who wrote that? I want their name, and I want to know where their kids go to
your name
school.
and your badge number. Wow, that was aggressive, that last part.
I'm just saying, like, what? Like, how can anybody look at this season and go, I really like the way this season ended? Like, it's just, this is awful.
I completely forgot about the magic tears.
Like, yeah, magic tears are just such an awful thing in Digimon, and it's disgusting. Like, this one kid cries in this guy's eyeball and stops him from rampaging. Like, what? And then they go, like, they cry on this half-naked 10-year-old boy, and he's just died because he fell down a couple of flights of stairs, and he manages to come back to life. Like, who thought this was real? Like, who just like, this is something that I can get behind? Like, I know
No one's smart.
I've always said, Jay, you have to suspend your disbelief when you watch Digimon, and I'm just like, I don't think anyone can suspend their disbelief that much, because they suspend their disbelief that much, they are past the stratosphere in terms of where their disbelief is located. It's a bad ending, and whoever wrote it should feel terrible about themselves. It's bad.
I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, so what was your favourite season?
Atmon.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very easily.
Yeah, mine is, I think Atmon, and then I think Tamers would be second, and then Savers would be third. I feel like that's my ranking, but I feel like Atmon's definitely the best. I think I really like it. I really like Atmon. What's your least favourite season?
Frontier, easily. Like, these are just super, super simple.
Even if we separate Young Hunters from Cross Wars, is it still your least favourite?
Yes.
Because I would say Young Hunters is my least favourite if it's split from the rest of Cross Wars. If it's included in Cross Wars, my least favourite is Frontier. Like, it's not good. And I feel like it had such promise and it had such a good backstory, and then it just went nowhere with anywhere, and then they cried on a corpse and brought him back to life. Like, I'm sorry, I'm still not over that. I'll never be over that as an ending.
You don't have to be.
Yeah. As for what the listeners said, we had 35.6% say Tamers was their favourite, and 32.8% said that Adventure was their favourite, which is fair. Like, I feel like Adventure is still, like, a fine season, because it did set the idea of what Digimon was. And then for worst, the listeners said that 28.3% say Young Hunters, and 27.5% say that Frontier's their least favourite, and that's all reasonable. We're up to the end stretch here. Total thorough thoughts, because I still like alliteration.
It'll never stop.
Never stop. What was the biggest change in, like, all of Digimon?
So you made sure that I couldn't say the Citramon episode here. Fair
Yes.
enough. I would say it's like, if I'm remembering it correctly, there's that bit in the first movie in the English where they make on Mimi's house. There's like the note from Joe.
I forgot
whatever it
about
was.
that. That was awful. That was terrible. The two Mimi love Joe.
Yeah.
I wanted to throw everything out of the window. Why? Like,
That one was real bad.
Yeah, see, my biggest change, and it's more of a broader thing, it's whenever they horrendously dumb down and baby some backstories or arguments that are going on. So they cheapened Masaru and Toma's fight, and they cheapened Taiki's backstory. And I'm not going to spoil what the episode with the most changes is, because I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, they just always would take anything that was even a little bit serious and just dumb it down, and for the most part just ruin any backstory or cheapen something and make it less of a character moment, because they just felt the need to dumb it down when they really didn't have to. And that really brings me to the episode with the most changes. And what was your episode with the most changes? Because I really have something to say about mine.
The most changes? Well,
Yeah, the episode.
it's the Citramon episode. It's a different category, and I'm not disallowed from saying it.
Well, that's fair. You can say the Citramon episode because
He was a bomb, and now he's an orange.
mine is one that I have not gotten over since we started this podcast 4 years ago. And it's Beomon Gets Firepower, because they removed all plot from that episode. So this is the first time we complained heavily about an episode, not because of the content, but because of the changes that they made. So
Oh yeah, because they made
they
Sora
removed-
just like be friends with her.
yes, they removed anything like that was plot. So
I totally forgot
it
about
was
that
when we
entirely.
first realised how damaging the dub could be, and relates back to what the biggest change overall was. And it's just when they changed some backstory or change a character, and this really sticks out the most in my memory because they removed actual character character story arc, and this is a character story arc that we would see throughout the season, which is Sora has problems loving, and she has problems with affection, and she doesn't handle affection in the same way as other people. And this is relevant later on when we find out about her mother, and when she says that she loves Biyomon. That's a big moment, because this episode has Biyomon following her around and annoying her. And in the original, that, as I said, it was annoying her, but then in the dub, she was fine with it, and they just removed any conflict at all. And it wasn't just a dumbing down. Like, we have Taiki's backstory where he didn't help a kid, and the kid was rushed to hospital and almost died. And then the dub, he had a stomach ache and was fine in the afternoon. That's terrible. But at least they still have the essence where he didn't help a kid and the kid wasn't well. And then in this episode, what actually happens is that instead of dumbing it down, they just remove it. It's like if they just had, Taiki was walking past a kid and didn't ask him how he was or something. Like, it's not even that.
They didn't do the flashback at all.
They didn't even do the flashback. And there's just they remove any emotion from this episode. And as I said, like, we say that, Digimon has problems not developing characters or only bringing up certain traits when it's immediately relevant. And this was something that was brought up in, like, the 3rd or 4th episode, and then would have been relevant, like, in 20 episodes' time when we activate the crest. And when Sora's being kind of like all mysterious because she overheard the bad guys talking about how she never activated her crest because she'll never feel love. And this relates to this episode where she's not feeling love. Like, then they removed it for no reason. So yeah, that's the biggest change overall, as well as the episode with the most changes. Also, while we're on the topic of things that Adventure just did because they did, remember when Mimi had a sister, brother, dog, and cat?
Yeah, I considered that one.
And Yamato and Takeru are half-brothers, not divorced parents.
Yeah, that stopped them being... I totally forgot.
Both Mimi's random family members that were added, and Yamato and Takeru being half-brothers, was then completely ignored when we met the family, because of course that was a dub change, and they couldn't just animate in new characters, or change the fact that Yamato and Takeru are actually related by, like, 100%. So... that was a thing, and I will never be over the Sora episode. Like, it was really good. Like, I think it was quite a good episode in the original, and we were just like, yeah, this is a fine episode, and then we saw the dub, and we're just like, this is awful, this is boring. Nothing happened in the dub episode, right?
I don't remember.
Meramon ran down a mountain, and that's about it.
I guess.
Yeah.
It's been many years.
Oh yeah, it's been like 4 years, but like also I'm very, very emotional about it. What was the best thing in the franchise?
Like Atmon generally?
Yeah.
Or like the song Hard Slash, I guess.
Oh yeah, that's fair. You do like slashing to life.
Yeah.
So my favourite thing is the fact that it hasn't died and that Atmon exists, and it managed to make both older fans who grew up with Digimon, or just people who are just older and watching the show, and younger fans happy. And it seems to, like, I don't know, I just really like how Atmon can be for both the new fans and the old fans, and that's really nice. And I couldn't even think of a worse thing about Digimon because, like, there were just so many. I guess I would say people who don't like the dub without giving reasons, like the Puremon's Firepower episode. I don't know, it's hard. Oh yeah, the occasional terrible treatment of the female characters, that is just awful. Also, when they ran into a hospital and cried on a child's naked body and brought him back to life.
It's pretty bad.
That was also, yeah, that. The fact that the majority of Digimon seasons don't know how to end. Except for Adventure. I like the Adventure ending. Even if it wasn't to lead into a sequel, that ending was good. I don't know. What's your least favourite thing in all of Digimon? Besides you had to watch it.
It's kind of that I had to watch it.
No, I just said you couldn't say that.
But it is. It's just there forever. It won't go away. Leave me alone. Why won't it let me be?
I found out my worst thing about all of Digimon.
Yeah.
Stop making new Omegamon every single 2 years.
What?
We get a new version of Omegamon every couple of years, and it just annoys me.
How different could it be?
I don't know, we've gotten Omegamon Zwart, we've gotten Omegamon Ultra S, we've gotten Omegamon Mercy Mode. I want them to stop.
I have literally no idea what any of those are.
Alter S is like...
I'm not asking. I just
He
telling you
has
I don't
red
know.
and gold arms instead, and Mercy Mode we saw in Try, and Zwart is just, what if we had the Black War Greymon and the Black Metal Garurumon become the version of Black Omegamon?
Random. Okay.
But yeah, I don't, and they keep on making Omegamon figures too. Omegamon's fine.
Oh, you hate that?
I do, because I'm not buying figures anymore. Only I'm only buying from 3 different sets, and the electronic V-Pets, the Gachapon ones, and the Evolving Spirits, and I'm not buying any other ones. So stop making more figures, because I'm not buying them, Bandai and Toei, you evil people. But also, I hate Omegamon getting a new version every couple of years. I'm not sure we'll get one this year, but we'll definitely get one next year of a new Omegamon, and I don't want it. I hate it. I wish make new Digimon. Stop making, like, I don't know, just Anyway, that's my worst thing. What about fond memories about doing the show and doing the podcast and watching Digimon?
I assume the purpose of this question is that I would say that I don't have any fond memories.
No, you do.
Like, honestly, I have this, like, warped pride about my unreasonable knowledge about this kid's TV show, but I might need a bit of prompting here, because honestly, I don't, like...
I mean, this is like...
I survived it, that's a good thing.
I love the fact that we have people who listen to the show and, like, send us nice messages, and also these amazing pillows that we got from Molly, one of our listeners, and I haven't given Jay's his yet, but I will give it to him.
Hoarding it.
Yeah, and it's just so nice. And Brady got one with Gomon on it, and I got one with Petitmon on it, and it says May, and yeah, it's just really nice. Like, that's really nice.
Yeah, my favorite thing of this is definitely the interaction with the listeners.
Yeah, like,
if we didn't have those letters, like, really early on, I would have been like, well, this is pointless.
Yeah, if we never had any, like, people messaging us or saying anything, we were just like, if it was only that, like, one negative comment that we got in, like, the first week, I'd be like, you know, like, there'd be, like, it's fun doing a podcast, but if it's just falling on deaf ears, like, if no one's listening to it, it's kind of like, why? And then, when we were at MadFest, and they said, you and May and Jay from LostinTranslationmon, because they followed us on Tumblr, and I was just like, my little head exploded. Like, that was great, because we started talking about Atmon, and like, and it was like, that was really nice. So just like these interaction with people that I would not have ever met in my life, and they're just talking to me, and we have all the supporters in the Discord chat, and they're just really nice people, and I just love them all, and it's just, I don't know, it's just really nice to have interaction with these people, and like being able to, even people who listen to the show, and they're able to make friends with other listeners of the show through like the Discord or through following us on social media, and that's just incredible. Like, I don't know, it's
the nicest thing.
It's pretty nuts. Like, we're just like 2 people from Australia who are just like, hey, I said I want to do a Digimon podcast, and you were just like, I would like to make fun of Digimon, and
this sounds like right up my alley.
Yeah, and you wanted to be on a podcast, you wanted to have your voice heard, and like, that's really nice. And when we got the animations from Chisai, and every time we've had like anybody draw something from the show, and it's just so nice. Like, it's just like people spend time and effort and like thought into doing even the smallest bit of art or the most amazing bit of art or anything, or just a message is just so incredible.
First animated adventure.
All of
that was so special.
All of the animated adventures.
The first time we got one, I was like, oh, this is a thing that happens to people. I forgot.
Yeah, I was just like, it kind of blew my mind. I'm just like, why? Why is this happening? Like this is incredible. Like, it just sort of, it was an incredible
Why
moment.
would you, but also how dare you?
Yeah, I'm just like, oh my gosh. Like, when I first saw it, I didn't know how to react. Like, I think I was just waking up when I saw it, and I was just like, I felt like there was a moment where I wasn't sure if I was like still dreaming it. I was just like, what is this? And I was just like, it was just like such a weird moment, like in a good way. And it's just, yeah, like that's definitely like the highlight. Just like, these people are just like so nice, and it's really nice. And yeah, also the time where Jay stood up and left the room and screaming about Black and Greymon, that's also my highlight.
Highlight for other people, yeah.
Yeah, because that's like such a moment, like, and also the fact, and I love this, that I think I've cursed you with that encyclopedic knowledge of Digimon now, where even you've corrected me on something before.
Yeah, how dare you be wrong about your show.
Yeah, I'm just like, wow. And the fact that I can probably show you like a couple of hundred of Digimon, and you'd probably be able to name most of them.
Yeah.
If not all of them.
It's kind of a struggle, because a lot of the names are like, Japanese and stuff, but I could name a lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, like I'm sure I'd be able to show you at least like the ones that I have on my desk that are modeled after the V-Pet ones, and it's all like ones like Jumojimon and Seadramon and Barkimon and Frigimon Greymon, and Unimon. They're all ones that you'd probably be able to, once you saw name. Also,
Like, in summary, I took a lot of damage doing this show.
yeah, like, it was also, we started in May 2014, and it's now mid-April 2019. Like, incredible. Like, it's just really good. And, yeah, it's long podcast, but I'm really glad that, like, we wouldn't have been able to do it if there weren't people listening to it. Like,
100%.
Like, it would be less fun, because it's nice to go to Postmon Pat and, like, oh, we have all these people, and when it was, like, when we were covering, like, the seasons that everyone had seen and had lots of thoughts about, we just had, like, pages and pages of Postmon Pat, and we had, like, times where we had Postmon Pat and it was 40 minutes long. Like, even that, like, that's not a bad thing, but we just had to change that up a bit because it was sort of going on too long, and the episodes were getting too long, and yeah. But no, it's been a really good, been a good ride. And what about your favourite song, which is another one of
Card
my random...
Slash.
Oh
Easy.
yeah, Card Slash. Card Slash is good. I like Hirari, it's the second opening of Savers. It bops. And I'm really mad about your worst, the least favourite Digimon song, so I'm not going to ask you. But mine's Digimon Fusion's opening. Yeah.
Wait, which one?
I saw what you said for your least favourite song, and I'm having none of it, so I'm not asking you.
Okay, fine.
Because it's Target. I love Target.
Yeah, but it sucks.
No, it doesn't. Also, another best one is while we're talking about English openings, because Fusion is my least favourite song, we've got the Digimon Frontier opening in the English dub. That's great.
Yes. I want to.
It's the one which says Digimon together when united as one. Yeah,
that was a good one.
It was baller.
It was the best part of that entire season.
Yeah, and I like the songs. Like, the songs are good. Then, before we wrap up this topic, we have Chuckmon, who asks, after watching all the Digimon anime and reading a few of the manga, does Digimon as a franchise deserve to have a dedicated fandom, and wants us to finally choose between Digimon or Pokemon?
So I know it's like the real good story of this podcast would be me going 4 years and going from, like, I hate Digimon to at the end, like, yeah, no, it does deserve it. But you know what? My real answer to you is I do not think Digimon deserves it. I truly don't.
I don't think Pokemon deserves a fandom either.
And no, I agree.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, is like, I really think that Digimon is primarily maintained through nostalgia. That doesn't mean it was never good. I have a whole speech about this, actually.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't mean, like, Digimon was never, ever good. But, like, things, like, cycle and they develop and, like, stuff changes, you know?
Yeah.
And so at one time, like, the Flintstones were, like, really good. They caused a cultural sensation.
Mm-hmm.
But now, like, who under 50 would say they even like that show?
I think it's not still going, is it?
No, it stopped ages ago, as far as I'm aware. Like, they still do, like, little movies and things, but, like, that show stopped. It doesn't matter. The point is that, like, even if you watched it now, you'd be like, okay. But, like, it's about these stone people making jokes about, like, home life in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's not really good. And things have developed, things have moved on. So, like, now, if you want, like, a good kids show, like, Avatar and Steven Universe are your baseline. These are great. And they would completely kill Digimon when you compare them to each other. There's, like, no... Avatar The Last Airbender is one of the best shows I have ever seen. And it's in the same slot as Digimon is trying to get in on. And it's the same, like, age base, pretty much. And that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I don't really think there would be a reason, if you were given all of the media choices nowadays, to pick Digimon. There's nothing about the series that is particularly special, I guess. And here's the thing, right? It's increasingly silly as the years go on. Because the concept of Digimon comes out of this weird time when no one understood what the internet was, where the movie Tron made sense to people. The idea that you could, like, go into a computer and what's going on in here? There's people here. What moves all the information inside the computer? We don't know, because no one's educated enough. We just know the internet exists.
I feel like
and so you go, oh, it must be monsters.
I know, but I feel like a show like Atmon, like, that one fits in more with... Like, the other seasons, they may not have aged particularly well, but I feel like Atmon, being the recent season, is trying to evolve into something that can be watched today. Like, it is being, like, up there with Yokai Watch and
I would
Pokemon.
certainly give Atmon its credit, and that's great. But the reason that Atmon is such a standout to us is because it is such an improvement over the rest of Digimon. That's what the question is, right? The question is about Digimon generally. And also, they're a little bit embarrassed. That's why they didn't call it Digimon.
Yeah. I mean, they are coming back from Cross Wars.
Yeah. Tri was going on at the same time, and yet Atmon was so... They must have known they had something, so they were like, let's just call it something something else.
Yeah.
So like nowadays we know Tron didn't happen. Nowadays everyone knows what the internet is. You can't sort of like hand wave away like what is Pumpmon and like what and
Pumpmon's a
like
friend.
and Gotsumon and
And
like what are
friends.
and like the big poop monster. With the context of how we know the internet works, what are these things?
And that's why I think Atmon worked, because like they're apps.
They recognize like the way that modern computers worked,
Yeah.
and they weaved it into that. The idea that you could go to the server and bust some stuff up there and have an effect that you wanted on these digital things made sense. Digimon, the rest of the series, has literally never done that.
No.
Because they just don't get it, and then they stopped caring.
Yeah, it
And
was
increasingly so, that's when they stopped being the digital world and started being like, oh, the other place?
Yeah, it's just like an alien planet, or just something that's digital themed, but was written as it's digital because it's the 90s and we're getting into, you know, the .com era.
And that's something that I think Pokemon has on top of this, where it's like, yeah, they're just weird monsters in exactly the same way.
Yeah.
But Pokemon has this like cool idea, like, well, what if you integrate these weird monsters into real life? What happens when they're like part of everyday life? And
I
that's
super
cool.
like that. Like I would actually like to see a Digimon season where they all just have Digimon, and that's what I kind
You want to see the post? What do you want? You want what Tri was meant to be,
No.
where everyone has their Digimon now, because at the
yeah.
end of 02.
But I also kind of like how in Savers, where the law enforcement have Digimon. Like, I
Yeah,
kind
that's
of
the whole
like
thing.
that. Like, imagine, like, it's the same thing with the police department in Pokemon. They all have Growlithe, because of course they do, they're good dogs. But, like, I would like to see that sort of, how Digimon would act in the real world if everyone sort of had a Digimon. And that's what I would like from Digimon Tries, where, oh, everyone has Digimon now. How do we live in this world where everybody has their own digital monster, a digital companion, a digital friend? Like, that's such a...
Some sort of digital champion, you say?
Yeah, a digital champion, if you will. The Digivolves to champion and then Digivolves to ultimate. But anyway, I digress.
So, but like the weird part about this though is that like I understand that the question, the reason that you compared Digimon and Pokemon is because I said at the beginning like, the joke is that Pokemon's way better, and I could admit this experience, while it didn't make me like Digimon more, it dragged Pokemon down because it made me rethink it in hindsight.
Yeah.
And so while Digimon isn't better, I kind of think they're both neutral.
Yeah, I would say that both are not, like, both people say that both are perfect, but I would say that neither are perfect, and, I mean, I would give credit to Digimon, that Digimon's better at adapting to what kids want these days. Atmon was good, Sun and Moon was not, and also Sun and Moon managed to turn away both the children and the adults, and Atmon,
which is,
in my mind,
it's funny because
both.
the anime of Sun and Moon though is probably the best the Pokemon anime has ever been.
Yes, but they've always, you know, people have always said, oh, okay, the Digimon anime is better than the Pokemon anime, but the Digimon games are worse than the Pokemon games. And that's what I've always said, yeah, you know what, I agree. Well done. Okay, we can say that the Pokemon anime is bad and the Digimon games are bad, but then Digimon released Cyber Sleuth, and that
game sucked.
No, it was a good game, and everyone just sort of said, well, now we can no longer say that the Pokemon games are necessarily better because this was a good game. And yeah, I mean, you know, there are better games.
Was that a dream you had?
No, but
was it the other 4 people in the world who played that game saying it?
No, it was everyone on the Reddit. Anyway, so
on the Digimon Reddit.
Yes. Anyway.
Oh yeah, I bet they're really unbiased.
No. Anyway, my thing is, I will never understand why people say, oh, do you like Pokemon or do you like Digimon? I'm like, I like both. Oh, but you can only have one. But no.
That was like, do you remember back when it was like, it really mattered whether you liked like Xbox or PlayStation more?
Yeah.
That you had to take a side and there were wrong sides to choose.
Yeah, like it's just sort of like, we can all agree PC's better. No, I'm just kidding. The thing is, like, it doesn't matter what... But people in both the Digimon fandom and the Pokemon fandom, both of them, they don't understand that you can like both. And you can enjoy both, and that's okay. But there are people who are just, to this day and age, still like, oh, but Pokemon's better. No, but Digimon's better. They're... Guys, they're both terrible. Like, no, I love both. I'm excited for the Pikachu movie, the Detective Pikachu movie, even though I can probably already see the twist coming because I saw the latest trailer and I was like, oh no, I think I know the twist. I don't want that. I hope I'm wrong, but like, I don't want to know the twist. But I'm super looking forward to it.
Is it Mewtwo's in it?
No, that's not the twist, but I'm very excited.
It says it's really twisty though.
It's so twisty.
I watched that trailer.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch it. I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it. And then I'll also be super excited for a Digimon game or a Digimon movie or a Digimon anime. I like both of them. I really liked Let's Go. That was so fun. Even though I haven't played since I got super salty that I was shiny hunting for ages to find a shiny Psyduck. Didn't get the shiny Psyduck. Did get about 4 shiny Vulpixes though. And when I was looking for the shiny Psyduck again, I in fact found a shiny that I actually also really wanted actually, but I never thought I'd be able to find one. It was a shiny Abra and it ran away. So I haven't touched it since, but it's a good game. What were we talking about again? Where am I?
I don't even know the answer for your question.
But anyway, I feel like Digimon is not as perfect as people in the fandom say. Like, it has a lot of issues, and I feel like you're only allowed to say that Young Hunters is bad and Cross Wars is bad, but you're not allowed to say any other negative things about Digimon or else you're wrong. And that's what some people in the fandom say. Like, Digimon's perfect except for that season that you're allowed to hate, but you can hate on that, but you can't hate on anything else in Digimon. Like, well, Digimon has a lot of problems. Even the season that people say is perfect has a lot of problems. And even Atmon, which I would say is perfect, has a lot of problems. They're the things that I would say, hey, but what about this though? Like, the worst episode in it was just awful. But yeah, I don't feel like it is. It's a nostalgia, as Jay said, a nostalgia-driven fandom where a lot of people grew up on it. This might have been their first big love in terms of TV show. They grew up on it. They saw it the Saturday morning cartoons. They watched it every morning, whatever. And now they just they really love it because of nostalgia. But I feel like it's fine. I love it. I'm glad that it has the following it does. As I said before, like, if it didn't have a following, nobody would be listening to this podcast. So that's good.
Still kind of weird that they are.
Yeah. But, well done for Digimon to keep alive, and I'm glad that they did Atmon, and I would like more seasons like Atmon and less like Tri, because they should stop trying to pander to adults, because they did fine when they were pandering to the children, because they also got the adults. I don't know, but I'm done on that topic.
Finally.
For Postmon Pat this week, first up on Discord, Logan has created a video with, instead of how the episode originally aired it, he has edited in the evolutions from each of the heroes' evolutions into the hero scene in Young Hunters, and wants to know our thoughts on that and what we'd prefer. If we'd prefer it to have the evolutions exactly how they were in the original season, or if we are fine with the way that Young Hunters had it, which was sort of edited into the episode itself.
I need a midway point, right? I need it to be slightly closer to the original, but I don't want it to fully cut away to like a pre-done thing.
Yeah.
So like, and I also kind of need like reaction shots.
Yeah. I kind of liked the way they did it, in the way that I really liked being able to see the magical girl evolutions with Takado and Takuya, and having what they look like from the outside, and then having Zenjiro and Akari just look at it and go, what are we watching? Because these are these naked 10-year-old boys who are turning into dragons, basically. And
just like John Wayne would have done.
Like, we don't understand the context of this, and it was really nice to watch. So I'm fine with the way they did it, but like, Logan took the time to edit in, so that's fine. Like, but I just prefer it the way it was, I think, if that makes sense. But I guess there would be a good midway point of having it sort of edited in, but also having the cutaway to have the reactions, I guess. It's a hard one. And then we also have a comment on With the Will from Chakmon, and Chakmon says that they think it's really hard to talk about Cross Wars as a whole because, as Jay put it, the show never really decided what it wanted to be. Each season, or arc, basically followed its own path, emphasizing what it wanted and ignoring what it felt like. And the animation quality between Hunters and the other two made it look like a completely different show. The only common thread in the three were Taiki and Shatmon, and possibly Bagramon if you knew the facts of everything from the beginning. Yeah, Taiki and Shatmon were the constant for the whole thing, and they're so good, and I'm so glad that they were in Young Hunters and it wasn't just the Tuggeroo show.
Your only main characters.
That said, Chuckmon continues, I think I prefer the Digimon Mysteries Monster of the Week aspect of Hunters overall, and would have liked that to be the bulk of the season story. They said they're not really that big a fan of the whole war thing and the massing armies, nor am I a big fan of Cross Wars, and that they think that these things cheapen the lives of Digimon individually and does the franchise a disservice. They said they would have preferred a Savers-like story of Digimon responding to and amplifying human emotion. No, remember, the writers forgot all about that they were doing that. And anyway, so Chakamon continues coming into the human world and Taguru, Yu, and Taiki solving the case. I would have also preferred a much less epic ending. I think the idea of bringing everyone together was a great one, but not for this muddled series. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we had that in Atmon where it was a Monster of the Week thing, and then we were trying trying to work out why the apps were bugging out like this. And I feel like that's exactly what Chuckmon's saying. It's like the Digimon mysteries of it's a monster of the week. What's happening? We have to solve the case. And that's what Atmon did. And then Chuckmon says that personally they liked the first arc best, and that they thought the effort was made in making interesting zones, and the baddies were more interesting in general. And that they never understand why people like the second arc so much. The lands and death generals are less interesting than their first arc counterparts, but there is more action and a story resolution in the second arc. And yes, they liked Hunters because it tried to be fun, and that they thought the second arc took itself too seriously. And it was, until it tried to get serious, with the plot and story, fine. I'm good with Tuguru being a movie extra in Hong Kong, ha ha ha. I'm not fine with him being an extra in anything because I hate Tuguru. That's just me. And
Even an extra in his own show.
It's fine to like the first season, the first arc, and not the second. You're right, the lands are just the same thing as zones, but with a different name, and that's kind of lazy, but I feel like the writing was better in the second arc, and I had more enjoyment in the second arc, but that's just me. But yeah, it's also thanks to Chakmon. Chakmon's been writing in for ages too, and basically everyone has been writing in for a long time. But we have a lot of long time listeners, and it's great. And that's basically it for Postmon Pat. Unless you had any comments.
No, I don't think so. I think it's all been said over 4 years.
Over 4 years, yeah. So that's it for our Digimon summary episode, and it's it for Jay discussing Digimon on the podcast for now, I guess. So
for now? Are you threatening me?
Yes, it's a threat. So thank you for being on the podcast, Jay.
And now it's time for me to take a bow and to never watch Digimon again.
Unless I really make you, because Atmon has a dub and it's fantastic or something.
God, I should have written like a speech or something.
Did you say you want a beach episode?
I said I should have written a speech. Like, I should have had an outro for this, like, actually planned, and I really didn't.
Well, you can
see you next time on Names an Anime that isn't Digimon.
Yeah, well, we can't do that because we're not talking about a show that isn't Digimon next time, or...
We're not even talking about anything.
Yeah.
So, I guess, as we said earlier, the thing that really kept me going with this is that we had people listening, they had people interacting, and look, I know there was some fairly negative comments said about, a guy that doesn't like the thing I like early on, but I hope that, the people who stuck with it, they've appreciated a bit of outside opinion on this.
Yeah.
I don't, as much as I go on about it, that, everyone's opinions are wrong except for mine, ultimately, no one has to like everything. And I appreciate everyone putting up with me. And I hope that in this process, I have given people the analytical tools they've needed to look at the show that they like, decide that maybe there are parts of it that aren't perfect, but then ultimately to like the things that they like more because now they understand them better.
You're right. You did ruin Digimon for everyone.
Well, that's an accomplishment unto itself, isn't it?
I mean, like, on the whole, like, I sort of enjoyed Young Hunters and Frontier before covering it on the podcast, before actually thinking about it, and I really, really enjoyed 02 before covering it on the podcast and thinking about it. I mean, there were things I didn't like about Frontier, forgot what it was called for a second, like Izumi's treatment. That was always something that I didn't like. But I was like, but everything else is fine. No, I was wrong. And it's good to have someone like Jay was like, no, it's just bad. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right, it is bad, but I really enjoy it still. Like, I know I've said that Frontier is awful, and I know I've said Young Hunters is awful, and 02 is awful, but like, I still like the shows. I'll still watch them again. I'm still happy to watch them again. I didn't just throw out my D3 off the balcony as soon as I realized that 02 was bad. And like it has problems, but I can enjoy it. And like, yeah, Izumi's still terrible though. Like, that's just inexcusable. But,
Never improved.
So it is good to have this perspective, and that was when we started the podcast. There were a lot of Digimon podcasts at the time, but they were all fans. They were all brought up liking Digimon, and they were all fans of Digimon. They were followers of the TV series, and they had always been a follower of the TV series. They'd been pretty positive, and they'd seen Digimon before. They knew things about Digimon, and that's why I brought Jay on, because he's someone who just looked at Digimon and said, this is bad. And
I don't know graybage.
Yeah, because it was a bit of fresh air. It's like, but also, what if Digimon's bad? Let's have this opinion on the table. But yeah, so that was always a thing. And we did get a couple of the comments early on, which is like, why do you have someone who just hates Digimon? I'm like, well, that's the point, because I don't want to just have people just saying, oh, Digimon's great all the time, because that's wrong. Like, but it's also good to have that refreshing sort of analytical opinion on Digimon, just like, well, I'm a first-time viewer, and this is what I thought. And then was like, okay, well, that's fair enough. This is your first time watching it, and you have these these thoughts because you're an adult and not an 8-year-old watching this show for the first time.
What if I just tricked everyone?
And you were just an 8-year-old, or you actually enjoyed this show?
Oh no, I mean just about the age thing.
Oh yeah.
I definitely didn't enjoy this show.
No. And a Redbubble's linked in the description. You can get more than just shirts there too. You can contact us and stay updated. Email us at LostinTranslationmon@gmail.com, or you can comment on this episode or message us on SoundCloud or any messaging thing. We're still uploading to SoundCloud at the moment, and even when our Plus subscription dies, it'll have like the last 3 hours of content that we've done, so this episode will be there, even though this recording is longer than 2 hours at this point. And you can follow us at TranslationMon on Twitter, and you can find us on LostinTranslationMon on Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We have a discussion thread on With the Will, and a Reddit thread in the Digimon subreddit, and we would appreciate if you would review us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and any other podcast listening app that you use. Ratings assist people finding out about the podcast, apparently, so we'd appreciate it, so please help us out. And we have a website, vote in polls, check out our release schedule, and check out our blog posts.
You can donate to our Patreon, which is linked in the description for as little as $1 a month, which gets you access to our listeners' Discord server, where there are high levels with more rewards such as notes, early episodes, and more. And thank you so much, really, to our Patreon supporters. When we put this Patreon together, I had no hope for it. I was like, oh, we'll get $2. Fantastic. But then, it's really helped put the show together, get us equipment that really helped, get the website together. It was really fantastic. And so thank you, really, to Joe, Anime Guy, who was Anime Guy Kurosaki, the number 1 on YouTube, Chuckmon, Stephen Reeves, who was Wildwick64 on AO3, Kaidawashi, Chisai, who you can follow at Chisai226 on Tumblr, Kyle, The Ladybugman, whose anime blog you can read it. The anime blog you can read at theladybug.productions, Tom, Glitchgoat, Matthew, Anthony, who is at AntoClassic on Twitter, Lizmet, who's a like-one on Tumblr, Sithobi, The Time Optimist, Nicholas, Sam, Noam, Spiral, Keith of the Friends in Violet podcast, and Alex Ray Snyder, who is at Alex Ray Snyder on Twitter, and also just everyone else who's ever donated anything to us over the time, whether that was through Patreon or with art or anything.
Yeah,
really,
any contributor.
Deeply appreciated it.
No matter from how small, it was just you wrote in a tweet to us one time, or you gave $1 to us at one point. It's just thank you to anybody who's even listened to this show, and thank you for making it what it is, and thank you for enjoying it. And we almost have 300 episodes of the show, and none of them would have been possible. I feel like the first 2 would have been possible without it, but we would not have made any more if it wasn't for anybody who's ever listened to the show or just ever mentioned, hey, I like your show, or even the people who had the negative comments, because at least it made us but we can still be enjoyable even though Jay hates Digimon. So thank you for
sticking with us
basically.
And believing in us, I guess.
Yeah, also that, thank you for supporting, no matter how you supported. I consider everyone who had listened to the show at some point supporting us in some way. You can also make a one-off donation at a PayPal, which we found in the description. It's paypal.me/Edgemon, and make sure to sign up for the podcast. I will be doing some things to the Patreon at some point soon, because the show will be evolving. It'll be digivolving, if you will. Hopefully better, always improving. That's what Digivolution is. Did you hear, did you see, did you know it was coming? So yes, thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Bye, everyone. It's been great.
Yay!
Also, if you guys have any feedback or any suggestions on how we could run the show, I would really appreciate it, because this was kind of a test. It might seem a bit muddled up, it might seem a little bit not funny, but please guys, give us your feedback and constructive criticism, because that would be really desired. Thank you very much. If you want to keep updated with us on social media, we're at TranslationMon on Twitter and LostinTranslationmon on Facebook and Tumblr. We'd really appreciate it if you gave us a review on iTunes, just to help get the word out. Listen in next week for more Digitude. Did you know the Fatboy Slim song is not actually called Funk Soul Brother? It is called the Rockefeller